While Supreme Court justices seem poised to uphold state laws banning transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports, the court debated a pair of cases challenging laws from Idaho and West Virginia. But it has implications for the 25 other states with similar laws and for athletes who compete in school sports around the country.
Joining us now is Amanda Goad, Audrey Irmas Director of the LGBTQ Gender and Reproductive Justice Project at the ACLU of Southern California. That is a mouthful, but welcome to the show. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
So I want to talk about if the Supreme Court does uphold these bans, which it does look like they're going to do. The conservative justices yesterday seem to be leaning that way. What does that mean for transgender students nationwide?
Well, these cases are about letting kids play. All students deserve a safe, welcoming educational experience, and for so many students, sports are part of that experience. Unfortunately, as part of a coordinated attack on transgender people and an effort to force trans people, particularly trans youth, out of public life, we've seen 27 states now pass bans like the ones from West Virginia and Idaho that were under discussion yesterday. So these cases are an opportunity for the Supreme Court to affirm that it's a problem under the Equal Protection Clause of our Constitution, and it's also a problem under Title IX, which bars sex discrimination in federally funded educational programs to exclude student athletes who happen to be trans from participation on girls' teams.
And there are two athletes at the center of these cases. Some justices are suggesting they deserve individualized review. Why would that distinction be important?
That's exactly right. At the center of these cases are two young women who, just like other student athletes, want to play on teams to work on their teamwork and discipline and physical training and all those skills that we know young people are able to build through sports, in addition to the relationships that often serve student athletes well through the rest of their lives. Becky Pepper-Jackson is 15, trying to participate in her high school's track team. Lindsay Hecox is a college student who wanted to participate in track. She actually tried out and did not make the women's track team at Boise State. She was participating in club sports for a bit after that, but she was forced out, really. She's withdrawn from sports and trying to just focus on finishing her degree because she faced so much stigma and harassment for her involvement in this case. And I think that sadly illustrates what a lot of trans young people are going through these days.
Yeah, definitely. We hear that a lot. I think, though, when people want these individualized cases, some of these are just so nuanced, right? Like every single case can be different. I hear from people who have daughters. I hear from people who have trans kids. Sometimes they both say two things can be true at the same time. We can love girls and want to protect them in sports, and we can still support and want the trans community to have a space there. But how do you bring those two together? Are there ways that maybe there are some rules established? I know in international swimming, after 3 years of hormone transitioning therapy, they can participate. Are there other ways that we could be looking at this?
Absolutely. I think that's right, that we need to have, if this is really about making sure sports are fair and equitable and safe for everyone, there's a nuanced conversation to be had and scientific evidence that shows there's really not a competitive advantage for trans women, especially if they have been able to medically transition in the way that people assume there is. I also think there are so many other fairness issues in sports right now. I think it's a huge competitive advantage when some high schools and some families have the resources to help students train and prepare and get specialized coaching, and others don't have those advantages. I think it's a huge fairness issue that there are some student athletes in California right now who can't focus in class or at practice because they're concerned about ICE coming for their family. And I think those are the sorts of systemic issues it would be great for our leaders in California and beyond to focus more on.
Yeah, you mentioned California. We, of course, have some of the strongest protections for transgender students, but there is pushback from some districts here. Is a Supreme Court ruling in favor of these bans going to affect California's approach if that's what happens?
Not necessarily. That was discussed at the Supreme Court yesterday, and I heard the advocates for both sides actually saying they didn't want that. The question on the table right now is whether it's legal and constitutional for states like West Virginia and Idaho to choose to adopt these bans. We don't think so, and would love to see the court reach a decision that lets kids play.
Okay, Amanda, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.